Dear Olta, distinguished chairperson, excellencies, dear colleagues, it's a great pleasure for me to have the opportunity to make an address at today's event. I would like to thank to the Kingdom of Sweden and to the Madam Chairperson for the hospitality and excellent organization of the Ministerial Council in Stockholm, held under very complicated circumstances due to COVID-19 pandemic. Moreover, the 28th Ministerial Council is held at a very sensitive moment for the future of our organization, which has been facing serious and accumulated problems for years. Unfortunately, with the outbreak of new and exacerbation of existing conflicts, as well as the constant emergence of additional challenges, the situation is becoming increasingly complicated. Despite our efforts over the years, further widening of the gap, lack of political will, and the openness to engage in constructive and substantive dialogue have contributed to undermining the foundations on which this organization was built. The 50th anniversary of the adoption of the Helsinki Final Act is approaching, and it should be borne in mind that this document, during the Cold War, set out 10 fundamental principles for regulating relations between states and thus made the world a better and safer place. I'm convinced that we should show greater responsibility for the future of the organization, political will and readiness for dialogue and compromises, while adhering to the principles and commitments arising from this important document, as well as those undertaken by participating in the work of the OSCE. It is a deeply divided world. At the time of the CSCE and the adoption of the Helsinki Final Act, the détente led to the end of the Cold War, while today the solution of the current situation should be sought in rebuilding trust. To achieve this, it is necessary to accept that despite divergent views on the existing problems and challenges, we need to respect our differences and show openness and engage in dialogue in good faith. We need to be ready for compromise in the process of eliminating or at least reducing security risks. In these efforts, multilateralism should be our most important instrument, and the return to the fundamental principles of the Helsinki Final Act should be our goal. The lack of multilateralism, as well as non-adherence to our selective application of principles and obligations, will certainly lead us to new conflicts. Ladies and gentlemen, Serbia, as a country located in a sensitive area, sees the OSCE as one of the most important platforms for dialogue on all security issues. Despite the challenges and accumulated problems facing the organization today, its solid foundations, developed mechanisms, and flexibility clearly indicate that the OSCE remains a valuable instrument of collective and comprehensive security. Serbia believes that the current initiatives and proposals regarding the future of our organization should be carefully considered and the best solutions adopted, which will contribute to strengthening the capacities and visibility of the OSCE. We could reach this goal through dialogue, with willingness for compromise and respect for the principle of consensus as a basic principle of the organization. Dear colleagues, the OSCE presence on the ground is one of the unique features and an added value to this important international organization, which can best be seen in the example of the region of Southeast Europe. Despite the fact that the region have gone a long way in the implementation of comprehensive reforms during the years of the OSCE presence, I believe that the OSCE missions still have a significant role to play both in strengthening the democratic capacity, supporting further reforms in the region, and also in strengthening cooperation in Southeastern Europe, and therefore the stability of this part of the European continent. During the 20-year-long activity of the OSCE mission to Serbia, we have strived to make the most of its expert support in the process of comprehensive reforms and the society and of our exceptional cooperation based on partner relations since its very establishment. I would like also to commend the cooperation with the OSCE mission in Kosovo and Metohija, which represents the most visible international status-neutral presence in the province, acting in accordance with the mandate based on UN Security Council Resolution 1244. Let me also briefly touch upon the cooperation and relations in our region. Despite the slowdown in the EU enlargement process, Serbia has shown its commitment to European integration and regional cooperation through concrete economic and infrastructure projects. We believe that only through cooperation with neighbors, with a readiness to respect the interests of all, can we reach sustainable solutions to the problems in the region. The best example of such cooperation is the Open Balkan Initiative, which was initiated and further developed by the joint effort of three countries, Serbia, Albania, and North Macedonia. On the other hand, I would like to express my deep concern and regret over the security situation in Kosovo and Metohija this year, marked by an increasing number of ethnically motivated attacks and incidents targeting members of the Serb community, as well as institutional discrimination, attacks on the religious sites of Serbian Orthodox Church, and undermining the economic sustainability of the Serb community in province. Despite the efforts that my country has made in the process of the dialogue and the fact that we have fulfilled the obligations arising from the Brussels Agreement, the Pristina politicians have so far shown no readiness to fulfill the obligations on their own. Instead, they have been making unilateral moves, insisting on their agenda of the so-called statehood while refusing for more than 8 years to implement the obligation taken under the Brussels Agreement to establish the community of Serb municipalities, which the Serb community in Kosovo and Metohija sees as a guarantee of its survival in the province. Even though this is the case, we remain fully committed to the process of dialogue between Belgrade and Pristina, which is conducted with the facilitation of EU, with the goal of protecting the Serbian cultural heritage and providing the fundamental rights and freedoms for Serbs in Kosovo and Metohija. Last but not least, let me express our support and readiness to cooperate with the upcoming Polish chairmanship and wish every success and extend support to our neighbor North Macedonia, which will join the OSCE Troika in less than a month. Thank you for your attention.